Happy rest day, everybody. It's Dakar Rally Daily with Jesse Ziegler.
So technically, it's not rest day.
I mean, they made it to rest day.
Tomorrow's rest day.
They're there.
Yeah.
Close enough. But this is the Climb Dakar Rally Daily Show with Jesse Ziegler.
And Quinn Cody.
Yeah, don't forget to say your name.
And this is, stage 6B.
Yeah, the end of the first 48-hour chrono stage we've seen since we've done this show. And shook up some standings pretty well, but not too dramatic, I would say.
Yeah, I think it just tightened everything up a little bit more.
Definitely one person in particular used this stage to make up some serious time. We can get to that soon, but let's get over the overall for the results of this stage quickly. It's getting exciting at the Dakar Rally. Things are tightening up. Adrien van Beveren really put the hammer down over these 2 days of this stage, coming out on top of the stage overall with a gap of 4 minutes over Toby Price, who came in second. A, great ride by Van Beveren. B, great ride by Toby Price, making up time where he needed to. And then Ricky Brabec doing exactly what he needs to do to control this race at the front overall, only 5 minutes behind Adrien van Beveren, so he only gave up 5 minutes.
Yep. Ricky's riding like an animal, and this was an 8-hour stage, so 8 hours over 2 days. So the first day was close to 7 hours, and then second day was just kind of a short sprint.
Very cool. They really could have done this in 1 day if they started earlier. That's what everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds dumb. Don't ride 800 kilometers in a race.
Yeah, I mean,
these guys
at that point, you've already been on the bike 6 hours. Like, what's another?
It's another hour and a half.
6.5. Man, it's another hour and a half.
Oof. I don't know. It's a lot for me. The rest of the team here, Daniel Sanders, 4th place, 6:55 back from Adrien on the stage. Ross Branch, our, hero of positivity. Ross Branch, 5th place, 9 minutes and 40 seconds back. So it looks on paper that Ross lost a significant amount of time on this stage, but he also had a pretty good cushion to lose.
Yeah, I mean, he had a little bit of time, and that just basically all this did was tighten it up to where two guys are pretty much just tied for the overall lead. Yeah,
right, exactly. Luciano Benavides on the Husqvarna, 10 minutes back. He ended up grabbing 12 seconds of bonus points on this stage, though. Good for you, Luciano. He needs that back after getting that 50-minute penalty for changing his engine. Kevin Benavides, his brother, just behind him, 16 minutes back in 7th place. Stefan Svitko, 8th place overall on this stage, 21 minutes and 19 seconds behind the leader. Nacho Cornejo lost quite a bit of time on this stage. He's 21 minutes back. We'll get to general classification.
Yeah, it didn't.
Standings.
The stage didn't help him.
Didn't really help him.
He actually opened for a while, collected 5 minutes, 50 seconds of bonus time, but he got a 6-minute penalty at the same time. So that erased all of his bonus earnings there.
Sort of washed out there, yeah. And then Jean-Luc Lepin is a new guy that we don't talk about too much. 10th place on the stage. He's on that Dust Rally team, the same team that Jacob Argerbright, an American, is riding with. So it's good to see him get in there. He's 26 minutes back. So 26 minutes separating top 10 on this stage over 800 kilometers. So really pretty tight racing, actually.
Yeah, I would say for an 8-hour stage, that's pretty tight. I mean, we've seen bigger gaps than that in the top 10 on much shorter stages so far.
This is how it shakes out in the overall classification. Once you get down to the numbers, Ricky Brabec is in the lead virtually after this stage. He is about 51 seconds ahead, Ross Branch. And here we go again, getting down into the seconds separating the top two. How exciting is that?
Yeah. After 27 hours and 11 minutes of racing, they're 51 seconds apart.
They've been definitely racing longer than I've been working this week. And it's Friday. 27 hours of race time. That's not commuting to the race when they had 500 kilometers to commute to the start of the race. This is on the clock time.
Yes.
27 hours.
Special stage.
And you did some math before the show. We're not halfway yet.
No, we're about 2,300 kilometers of racing into this race. And we have another, I want to say 2,500 kilometers to go. So think about that, right? Not even halfway.
27 hours isn't halfway. It's going to be a 50-hour race on the gas for time.
Yeah, minimum.
Ooh, minimum. That is insane.
We've seen some attrition thus far. So there's going to, for sure, there's a lot that's going to happen in this second week of racing.
Look at that top three. I mean, Adrien van Beveren really rode the stage of his race this year For sure used his sand skills, and from the sounds of it, took some risks sending it off some sand dunes to come within 9 minutes of the lead, 9 minutes and 21 seconds of the overall lead, which is in this race right now pretty close.
Adrien really brought himself back into this race here. He just a couple days ago, he was over 20 minutes out of the lead in the general, and now he's within 9 minutes of the overall. So yeah,
he's in that danger zone that we talked about.
He's in the battle. Yep.
Also not out of it. Nacho, even though he had a rough stage that knocked him down some time, he's still in fourth place, only 14 minutes out of the lead. And he has 14 minutes of bonus time thus far in the race. So, this is something that Nacho definitely has the potential to not only compete in, but really threaten for the top because of his ability to open stages and not lose time.
Yeah, he's riding really well and he navigates really well. So I think he's going to be a tough one, and there still is a lot of bonus time available. And so if he gets himself out front and opens some stages, I think, he can erase that 14-minute gap pretty quickly.
Just making Honda even more of a threat here is having such a strong trio in that top four and being within 15 minutes of everyone. That's danger time. Toby Price really did step up. And actually all the KTM guys really had a pretty clean stage, save for Luciano having to replace his engine. This is 27 minutes back to fifth place for Toby Price. Not out of contention by any means, because we're not halfway done. And he's really clawed back those minutes, meticulously, not all in one stage, but he's grabbed 2 or 3 minutes here and there.
Yeah, he's been inching up the standings, and he's within 30 minutes now, which is a big barrier, whether it's a mental barrier or just an actual barrier on the clock. When you're inside 30 minutes, then you kind of see the light, right? It is possible. And it can be mentally defeating when you see you have a 45 minute gap and you're like, I might get lucky, but I'm not, and it zaps motivation. So it looks like Toby's motivated, and he was definitely on the gas this stage.
Motivated Toby is a dangerous Toby, and he's got his team behind him. Kevin Benavides is literally right behind him. He's only a minute 30 behind Toby in the general ranking. That puts him 28 minutes and 33 seconds back, sitting in sixth place. Plenty of time for him to catch up to Daniel Sanders right behind them. He's a little bit further back. He's 35.50 out of the lead, but that's one of the toughest people I've ever talked to in my life. So I would not count him out. And then Luciano's right behind him. So we have a KTM, Gas, Husqvarna stack right behind these Honda and Hero guys.
Yes, we do.
Pretty exciting. Svitko, look at that guy. 9th place overall. He's an hour down, so he is looking really strong for a top 10 finish overall, maybe even creeping up, even higher and higher and higher, because you just got to kind of keep kicking on.
That's right.
Then that Jean-Luc Lepin's in 10th overall right now, 130 back, and that's our top 10 overall general classification.
Yeah. And
exciting stuff.
He moved himself into the top 10. This is really kind of the first we've talked about him. And, I think with a few guys going out and whatnot, he's in there. He got himself really good position.
Yeah, let's talk about withdrawals. We had a few withdrawals this stage. The withdrawals you can see, unfortunately, we talked about Skyler yesterday. He went out in stage 6A, only 30 or 40 minutes or kilometers into the stage. Yep. He had an engine failure, backed out. We also have Cesar Rojo. He's a Bass World KTM racing team pilot. He's got a lot of industry connections. He owns like a design and development and engineering agency in Spain that makes a bunch of mountain bikes, and he's got a really cool story if you want to look up Cesar Rojo.
Yeah, Cesar he's a part owner of Ciro Design in Barcelona, and they do a lot of work for Gas, KTM, Intense Bicycles, and really cool design firm.
Very cool. Big news, John Beretta abandoned stage 6 with motor complications or engine complications, some sort of DNF complication.
We don't really know.
Don't really know much there. And then the big news everybody's going to be bummed about. Mason Klein abandoned the race today. Couldn't get his bike started, it seems, from the morning after camp out in this remote bivouac.
Yeah, it's, Mason's been fighting this battle, it seems like the entire rally up till now, and it finally got him on this marathon stage. And, we saw some video. I tried to get some info from Mason. Haven't heard anything, but we saw some video of him not being able to get his bike started this morning. So he struggled a little bit getting in last night. Then his bike wouldn't restart this morning. They were trying to jump start it. Bunch of guys were helping him bump start it. Nasser Alatia was out there pushing his bike, trying to get the bike running. Eventually got it running, and you could hear him kind of limp off into the distance and short shifting. So he knew he was just biding his time, trying to get through the stage. But yeah, I think the fate was sealed probably yesterday.
Yeah, he's battled back on this cove so many times, doing his own repairs, and the team's been super supportive, like, you know, throwing in motors, who knows how many other repairs they've done, and sort of development updates along the way in this race to keep running. And today that just ran out.
Yeah. And it's a tough situation, right? Like him and his family and their sponsors and everything are basically paying for Cove to do R&D.
Exactly. Yeah. So, if you look at it that way, they just decided to step up and be their R&D department. And probably not getting paid.
That takes a lot of guts to go into a race knowing that there's a pretty good chance that your bike's not going to make it to the finish.
Yeah, you have to have that in the back of your mind.
And, you know, and you got to give the Kleins credit. I mean, they spent a lot of money to do this, and it's tough because, you know, Cove, obviously they've done their testing for their production bike and whatnot, but they haven't done any race testing, and they don't probably have the caliber of riders like Mason that can do the durability and spend the time on this. And it's a relatively new brand too.
Yeah. It is a thankless job probably, even though the Cove guys are doing a great job giving him shout outs on social media and really praising him for his efforts and his ability to, you know, just keep on keeping on. But you're right. When it comes down to it, like, the Klein family really put in the commitment to make this bike succeed, or even test it to the point where it fails.
Yeah.
And that's noble.
Fact is, they're testing it in the race, and it's a tough decision to spend that kind of money to test an unproven bike. And so I can't say that I'm 100% surprised of this outcome, but hey, you know, you got to hand it to them, and maybe that sparks something within the company there, and they up their game for next year and get some real, because I mean the bike has potential, right? He nearly won a stage on it. He's finished in the top, so it's not like the bike is
that far away.
It's not that far away. They just need to invest the time and effort and money to do what it takes to bring it up to a level where it's durable enough to run an entire Dakar.
Let's hear from stage finisher, not stage winner, but overall leader in the general classification, Ricky Brabec, after this stage, to try to get some insight into, you know, the racer's mentality and what they think.
Yeah, you know, 2 days in the desert was quite fun, honestly. The camping last night was really fun. We didn't sleep that great, but overall was fun with the guys. You know, had a little campfire, barbecue, like cooked our meal. But yeah, the stage was long. I think if we would have started at 7 a.m., we could have finished the whole thing. But I mean, I feel good. I mean, I'm ready to go for the second week. My finger's a little sore from the clutch over the last 2 days, but overall was fun. I enjoyed it. I know some of the guys are saying it's too much, but hey, it's a Dakar. It's not easy, and looking forward to rest day tomorrow. And yeah, really happy with my first week. You know, goal number 1 is to make it to rest day, and goal number 2 is to make it to the finish. So it looks like we're going to be starting the second week 110%, and looking forward to it.
His finger hurts from the clutch.
Yeah.
It's his only minor complaint after 28 hours of racing across the desert for 2,300 kilometers.
And I love hearing that some of the guys are thinking it's a little bit too much.
Yeah,
because that to me, yeah, Ricky's in a good space because he likes that, right? He wants those guys to suffer,
especially when he's feeling good, and he sounds like he's feeling good. We've said that from the beginning of this year, that he just sounds different this year. He sounds calm and collected and confident.
Yep.
All right, somebody else that we love hearing from. Let's talk to Ross Branch today about his race and how the marathon stage went for him.
Yeah, sitting second overall, Ross Branch.
It was probably one of the toughest rally stages I've ever done in my life. It was 500, and we did 513 k's yesterday. It was super tough, and then this morning where the dunes were so soft, so it was just the cherry on top for this really hard stage. So, but we're here in one piece and kept the bike together, which was the main aim, so we can fight again next week. Yeah, you know, it's the team has worked so hard, so it's really disappointing to be the only rider now. You know, they deserve way better, and unfortunately this stage was going to take a toll on the bikes. We knew that, so we just had to try and keep it in one piece, and being the only hero out there is not fun, and I needed him next week, but it is what it is. That's racing. We've just got to do with what we can, and fight next week as hard as we can and try to get hero where they deserve to be.
That will change your strategy in terms of attacking or being more?
No, I don't think so. You know, I want to win, so I'm going to go and attack as much as I can when I can. Obviously, I've got to be a little bit more careful, and you know, I can't take too many risks. But yeah, it is what it is. So let's just go and have a fun week. The aim was just to survive this week. We did it, and we're here in one piece. And this was the toughest stage for sure. So at least we know from now on it's going to be a bit easier.
Do you think it's going to be easier from now on?
I don't think it's going to get easier. I think, yeah, we're less than halfway through, and Ross being the last hero, that's interesting, right? We lost Beretta today, so only one on his team. It's got to play on your mind, right? If they're having if he's having an engine problem or something like that, and I don't believe Rally GP guys can re-enter. You know, there was a couple years ago. I remember Kevin Benavides lost an engine, and he actually re-entered and then was able to kind of get himself in the mix.
They did, and then Petrucci did as well.
Yep.
But you can't do that in Rally GP anymore. Rally 2 guys, if they go out like Jaco or Argerbright did, he can re-enter the race without a finish, but just to get the experience.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
No Rally GP guys. So Beretta can't come in if they fix a bike. Nobody else can come in. He is definitely siloed out there as the only hero on the course, which is kind of a lonely place to be because he's been battling up front all the time. Yeah. With a little bit of support behind him, but now it's gone.
Lonely, but then also you have all the resources of the whole team on you, and you know, so there could be some positives, right? He's probably getting his own motorhome for the week, and didn't have to share roommates with anybody else. And he's got every mechanic; all the mechanics are working on him, and so
he deserves it. Here's Nacho Cornejo after his somewhat time-losing stage, but here's what Nacho has to say about the stage and the race overall.
Was quite an experience. It was a long stage. I started kind of in the front group, so I knew I could lose a lot of time. I think I lost quite some minutes, but I opened more than half of the stage, so I think I did a pretty good job. I gave my best, and I'm calm for that. So we will see. We finish our first week of racing, I think, quite strong. And yeah, and I'll have a good rest and get prepared for the second one. It's ups and downs, but even the bad days, I did my best and I did pretty solid stages. Some starts I was maybe too in front in terms of strategy, but I had a good pace, good navigation, and overall, yeah, strong, happy. And now try to catch a good rest to fight again second week.
It's like a week's coming in a hurry. They get one day off, but for a lot of these guys, it's not much of a day off, right?
No, and you know the thing that strikes me is all the photos that we're putting up on the YouTube channel of these guys and their faces. They all look about 10 years older than when they started the race.
These aren't the HRC Honda, you know, photo shoot photos anymore.
No,
these are from the dirt.
Real rally, and they slept in tents last night on the dirt, and you know, ate some weird dehydrated food or canned beans or something like that. So that was kind of the real Dakar is coming back at it. I think they should do more of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm all for it. It shakes it up. It makes it unpredictable, out of the comfort zone of the, you know. Quinn's not a fan of the motorhome life. He wants these guys in the dirt suffering because he's a sadistic person.
Yeah, I mean, the riders would hate me for saying this, but I think that everyone should be intense. They should eliminate the whole motorhome plush life.
Well, let's get into the guys that have to stay intense, and let's check out the Malle Moto, how this fared after the big 2-day stage where, these guys are living this day all the time. But let's see how the results shake out. I don't have it ready. I'll have to.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a change for the Malle Moto guys really spending the night in the desert. I think, maybe they even had a little bit less work. So
yeah, they didn't have the opportunity, but we see Tobias Ebster,
he's actually an hour and 14 over second. So he's sitting pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's gonna. Obviously we're only halfway through, but he's a fast guy. He was, up until yesterday, he was leading the Rally 2 category. So clearly he's got the speed to win this class.
For sure.
He's just got to basically get himself through.
Pretty impressive on that stage, though. This is Jerome Martini. He came in hot right behind him, 8 seconds behind him on the stage. And Gioli Mioni, who's another legendary name in Dakar Rally history, sitting in third on the stage, and he's climbing up general rankings a little bit for 4th overall. So that's pretty cool to see.
He's a son of Fabrizio Mioni, former KTM factory rider and famous Italian racer.
Very cool story. If you want to look at Mioni's story on the Dakar website, it's really cool, really touching, and really moving.
Yeah, and our man Libor, he's still hanging tough. He's there and sitting in 8th.
Yep, there he is. Libor, duct tape your eye open. Staying there in 8th place. The American contingent, Kyle McCoy, he's in 11th right now, so he's really just chugged along in his ultra marathon ways, and
he's only
his way
10 hours and 19 minutes out of the lead in that class. So
it's a bit of an insurmountable amount, but being in that top 10 area in the Malle Moto is like no joke. Like, that's just survival and maintaining a pretty decent pace. He did finish 9th on the big stage, so good job staying alive.
Kyle's been racing for 41 hours.
He's already doubled everybody else's time almost.
Yeah, I mean, that's just 40. Race time. That's not these massive 500-kilometer liaisons, where they're on the bike for 6 hours on top of that. So we're a week into this thing, and I think he's I would not be surprised if he's been on the bike for 80 hours.
By the end of the race?
No, by now.
Oh, yeah, because this is only this race time. I understand.
Only racing time.
Yeah, 80-hour work week for Kyle. Not easy.
Yeah, and that's not including the time spent working on his bike.
Wow, what brutal world these guys are living in. But hats off to them. They're the real warriors out there, that's for sure.
They are.
Cool, so that's kind of our wrap-up of the top 10 today after this crazy stage. Top 10 overall general classification. We went through the Malle Moto guys a little bit. Right now we got to run through some sponsors because we're crazy this morning. We're not getting it all done at the right time. But thank you to Climb Technical Riding Gear for being on board, supporting us with the title sponsorship of the Climb Dakar Rally Daily Podcast. It's awesome to have you here. We're always excited when we get new Climb stuff in the mail or we buy new Climb stuff. It's always great. I love it. It's my favorite.
Good, tough, durable, quality gear.
I would say durable is like their definite mainstay. Sometimes it's too durable. Sometimes I have to wash it like 100 times before I wear it because I'm like, this stuff, I need it to be a little less durable today. But I've worn the same stuff for 5-6 years in a row. It just doesn't break down. Today, our OEM sponsors, Husqvarna. And I think you failed. You don't have a Husqvarna shirt on today.
I failed. I didn't wear my... I have my Friday Hawaiian shirt on.
Nice. I love it. Little Rocky vibes today. We like to see that too. That's a good... If you can't wear a Husqvarna shirt, you should wear a Hawaiian shirt, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks to Husqvarna for sponsoring us. We love having you guys on board. Rally Navigator. They give us all the navigation tools to actually do a Dakar Rally stage. You think it's something that you can't do, but you can just log in there and do it. Then we got Moto Minded, Giant Loop, Fast Company, High Desert Adventures, JimmyLewisOffroad.com, which, man, that guy, we just haven't been mean enough to him lately.
No, I know. We got to
find some
stuff
to pick on Jimmy Lewis.
He's been in a good mood lately because his guy is leading the rally. Right?
He does work with Ricky Brabec a lot.
Yeah, Jimmy kind of goes up and down, and when Ricky's out of the race, he's radio silent. But now he's been calling, and he's kind of.
He came out of his
Upbeat.
hole in the desert
Yeah.
somewhere to bask in Ricky's glory.
Maybe we'll get Jimmy. Maybe we'll get Jimmy on a show here pretty soon.
Also, thanks to Taco Moto. Speaking of being in the desert, go to North Las Vegas, go to Taco Moto, get some stuff thrown on your dual sport bike. That's the only thing I can tell you to do.
Yes.
They got a lot of parts over there. Anything you want. You want wheel weights for your spokes? Taco Moto has those.
He'll throw so much stuff at your bike, you won't know what to do with that thing.
Yeah, it won't even look like your bike anymore. It will look like some fancy project bike you see in a magazine. And Peak Design, they're our newest partner. I got to say, we're already selling Peak Design gear because of our awesome feature of their cool tripod thing. And I use this, honestly, every day. I used it for our FaceTime with Anthony, our guy just now. I used it to look up results while we're watching. Just this case and stuff is great. It's simple. It works awesome.
I'll get one of those. I'm going to go online and buy one.
Speaking of FaceTime and video conferencing with my Peak Design thing, I think we're going to have Skyler Howes call us.
Yes, we're working on, Skyler unfortunately went out today, but I think he's been gracious enough to agree to get on a video call with us, and so we can have a quick chat with him.
Let me cue that up. Great to hear from Skyler. He's one of our favorite people to interview, and let me see if I can get it connected here. So here's Skyler from his hotel room in Saudi Arabia. Okay, we got Skyler here. Thanks for calling in, Skyler. Skyler's in a hotel room in Saudi Arabia, I think, right? Skyler, where are you?
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, Riyadh.
Riyadh, not where you want to be right now.
Well, technically, this is rest day action, but I got here a little bit too early, which is not really ideal.
Yeah, you were there 2 days too early, I think.
Yeah, heartbreaking day for you yesterday. What can you tell us about what happened with the bike?
Well, kilometer like 15 or so, I started noticing, a noise. And I was like, it's not really ideal. Like, it's kind of strange, but I still had full power. And then around kilometer 40, I just lost all power and it shut down. And the only thing I can say is it was human error. It wasn't a part or, any other error. It was a human error, which is a bummer, but yeah, I mean, that's how things go. I think any mistake is always possible on anyone's part, including myself. I mean, if we look back at Morocco, prologue, day one, first race with the team, I crashed out, and that's my fault. And it's just as easy for me to make a mistake and ruin the entire race as it is for anyone else. So it's just kind of it's a bummer. I always like to have, like, if it's a failure, I want it to be my fault. I want it to be my reason and that kind of stuff. So it is a bummer, but yeah, it's how things go. And luckily, we're all good and we can learn from this and take it to the next one,
Yeah, that's too bad. It's always tough when it's something that's out of your control, and but it really just goes to show how difficult this race is on everybody, not just the riders. And things get overlooked, and it's a real shame. But
a couple of days prior to that, you had a clutch issue that you talked about in your post-race sort of quotes. Can you talk about what was going on there with the clutch on the bike? And that's not related to what happened at the beginning of the marathon, right?
Yeah, no, so it was a separate issue, but no, it was super strange. Like, so they still run a cable clutch on the Honda, and I was just essentially having to adjust it. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to say, to be honest. All that happened was it was strange. I was having to adjust it so much, and I was just on gravel tracks, and I was like, that's weird that I have to, I'm not abusing the clutch or do anything. But I went through this really rocky section almost at the exact moment that I was searching for that hidden waypoint, and the cable connection at the engine on the clutch arm, the cable had got so loose that it just bounced itself out.
Yeah,
and so I've
seen that happen.
It was an easy fix, but I didn't want to spend too much time trying to figure out what had happened, because I just felt the lever come to the grip. So I was like, I can ride without a clutch. So I ended up just riding without a clutch for about 100 kilometers. And then I was able to this is an easy fix. So after I start, cause you can't work on the bike in the refueling. So I just reached down and clipped it back in after I, restarted.
Cool.
So
that clears it up. Wasn't related to anything. We were speculating or guessing.
Jesse was speculating.
I was doing stupid guesses.
What did you think it was?
I was like, oh, this is something happened to the clutch, and now it's invading the rest of his motor, and that's what's happening to Skyler's bike. Like whatever he did to that clutch broke his motor. But clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about, which is not new on this show.
A lot of speculation going on our side, but
but I'd like to hear like what you thought of. I know you had a couple rough days, losing some time and being sort of behind the 8 ball a bit in the start of the stage. But can you give us a little breakdown on how the race was going in the beginning, the organization, the course, sort of your little, stage 5 recap show?
Yeah, I mean, to be 100% honest, I feel like I hold myself to my own high standards, and I consider myself to be kind of mentally resilient. But to be 100% honest, the crash in Sonora followed up with, the contract stuff and how just everything went down there. Then to come directly into my next race with a big crash and another big injury. And then to I got roughly just over 2 months of time to recover from that and put myself into a position for the, toughest race in the world. And I'm not really feeling 100%. Like my back, I got nerve damage in my back that it doesn't it's not anything weird. It just feels like I have super sore muscles in my back. And so I'm like, all right, I'm not really there. My knee, I broke my tibia plateau of my knee. So I'm like, just a little bit not 100%, And so that's obviously in the back of my mind. And I've spent more time kind of in this mental battle rather than just focusing on refining my craft. So then we start the prologue and I'm like, all right, we're getting through this thing. I messed it up on the last prologue. And for whatever reason, dude, I don't know why the organization wants to play games like this, but they always put the little stupid flags out there. Either they do WPP or they put these flags out there that, you're in the open desert and we want you to ride through 2 lath sticks while you're trying to go as fast as you can. It's so dumb. So I had already missed one, but I was in the main race line. So it means everyone missed it. So I'm like, okay, I just don't want to miss any other ones because it says it's a 2-minute penalty if you do. So I just came over this rise and I saw a gate over to my left that I was going to miss. So I'm like, oh shoot, cut back over, hit a camel grass and went straight over the bars and smashed my road book and had this gnarly crash on the freaking prologue again. And I'm like, dude, this is not what the heck is going on here? The last year was so sick. I went, I did so well. I won Morocco. I won Vegas to Reno. I won Silver State. I won Sonora. I did all this stuff. Then I go into a podium. I'm on this high. And then all of a sudden it just comes crashing down with Sonora and just everything starts going out the window. So I'm like, dude, maybe this affected me mentally and physically way more than I thought it did. I'm definitely not in the head space or the physical space that I'm previously used to.
Right.
And the crash, I was just like, man, this is so stupid. And then of course it was for nothing because obviously they didn't throw in any penalties for missing those gates. So I just had cut across the desert to try and hit this gate for no freaking reason. So I'm just ultimately annoyed for that. And then I'm starting the first stage and I'm like, dudes, I gotta freaking keep it together here. I cannot throw this away. I need to finish this stage. So I was riding extra conservatively because I'm like, dude, I'm not on a good streak here. And then 12 kilometers into the stage, you hit a WPM and you had to go off piste and find a canyon. And the next note was okay, go off piste at a diagonal and then go hard right up to a canyon and take the second canyon. Well, I took the third canyon. I went 100 meters too far and took the third canyon. And I didn't have Mason's track in front of me, but I was like, okay, well, like, I hit the waypoint and I feel like I did this right, but I went 2 kilometers up this canyon and then headed dead end. And I'm like, you're joking.
Oh no.
So then I turn all the way back, come all the way back, hit waypoint minus, do it again. By that, I had already lost like well over 10 minutes.
Right.
And so then I'm riding conservatively. I made a couple other little smaller mistakes, ended up in a wrong valley and had to compensate, but you're not on the track, you're losing time. So I just I completely dropped the ball and fumbled it on day 1. Yeah. I mean, the prologue and day 1. I'm like, dude, this is not good.
So you're sitting in a hole trying to get yourself motivated and confident to attack the next day.
And I'm kind of in my own head, like, dude, I expect better out of myself. Like, I know I can do better than what I'm doing right now. Like, what the heck is going on? Yeah. Like, this is not me. This isn't me. I don't understand. I consider myself a decent navigator, and I'm making stupid mistakes, like mistakes that I should not be making. I'm just like, what's happening? What's going on here? And then, so Ricky passes me and he's just going on a complete other level. I'm like, dude, I'm way off the pace. Like last year, I thought I was just cruising and I was like, finishing stages in the top 3 and I'm leading the rally and I'm like having fun, throwing no footers. I'm like, just like, yeah, this is sick. And then all of a sudden this year, I'm like, I mean, we're talking 10% off the pace of what I should be going. Like, I'm not even going close to what I should be going. I'm like, dude, something is wrong here. So day 2, I'm like taking a little bit better, still like did a couple donuts out there and didn't find the right way, but it went much better.
Yeah.
And then day 3 was obviously way better. And then it just continued to get better and better and better. I still was making smaller mistakes, but not so much. And then I was consistently within the top 10, top 5. And then day 5 was like full dunes day. My setting is really set up for rocks because this rally is going to be primarily apart from the empty quarter, the race is primarily in the rocks. So I was like, all right, bike setting needs to be more or less for that. And then I can manage in the dunes. So I did pretty decent in the dunes, but still was a bit off the pace. And then, I, run into the mechanical issue. So it's like, I don't know, like this just goes to show like how much these little things can kind of affect your overall performance on any level. You look at motocross, supercross, off-road, and rally. I mean, at this level, you have to be on your freaking A game.
You're isolated.
Last year I came into it on a bike that I had just developed for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And off of major wins, major confidence boost, I was super fit in like the best shape of my life and, had a ton of fun. And then this year was like, I had to rebuild and recover. And I was just on a brand new bike that I've only been on for a few months. So it's like, I thought I was way more just mentally focused than I actually was. And it was like, man, this is a major wake up call to see like how actually freaking on it you have to be in order to be good for every day.
You guys are isolated out there. It's you against the world and all those elements, and those things can snowball, those little issues mentally or physically, or just making mistakes. And Quinn's talked about that before here, where it can just really get out of control quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you can, I've always said that your processor has to be working so quickly and firing so fast, and you have a couple crashes, a couple injuries that throw you off your game, and it doesn't need to be much, right? It's just that you're just pressure. Operating down a little bit less than your top level, and you're off, and it's good that you identified it and you knew and you were cautious enough to get through, because a lot of guys don't realize it or don't identify it, and then they go out, and that's when the big scary crashes happen and further injury, and then you're just deeper in a hole.
They try to overcompensate by just going faster and hoping,
twisting it harder.
But
well, Johnny shared a very good perspective on that too, and he said, because I explained to him why I was so frustrated with my mistakes and everything. And he's like, dude, you're being too hard on yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but like, we need to be like, we're not out here for, I've done the bucket list thing now. Like I'm required to put in a good effort for the team here. And, obviously like my mentality and stuff, I'm having fun no matter what, but there also is a expectation, whether it's as heavy on myself as I'm putting it on it or not, but there is an expectation that we need to perform. Right. Yeah. And so to be making stupid mistakes, I was just like, man, I expect better out of myself. Like, you know, and he goes, look, yeah, you're a podium guy. And once you have success, that's what you expect out of yourself. Right. He's like, but you need to put this into perspective. You have to put it into perspective. He's like, whether you grew up on a Honda and you spent so much time on a Honda or whatever it is, you're on a new bike, and you have to take time. You have to take the time. Like, it's rare, it's super rare to just get on a bike and freaking be able to just, you know, go lights out fast and have no issues, you know? So you have to take that time to refine the setup and get super comfortable and confident on it. And, you know, and then take everything else out, take the whole expectation and everything else out, period. That's all done with. You know, all you have to do is focus on the day. That's it. Just focus on the day and do your best that day. Whatever else is happening or whatever else you expect out of this needs to stop now. And like, you know, your speed, if your speed isn't there, that's what it is. That's just what it is. You know, you can't beat yourself up because, you know, like Quinn said, like if you start forcing the issue, that's when bad things start happening, you know. And I kept refining it. You know, I would make setting adjustments, super small ones, obviously, because it's not really a super smart idea to make setting changes in the middle of a race. But I'd make small adjustments and they'd always be positive. And so I'd be riding better, you know, and making less mistakes and just kept feeling more and more and more and more like myself. And I'm like, okay, finally, like I'm getting kind of back into the swing of it. My body actually was feeling better and better as the days went on rather than like more sore. Like the first 2 days I was so beat down, and then I started to like recover the more that we were riding. I started to feel like more fit and like more myself, and my head was kind of more in it. And I was like, all right, pushing and choosing better lines and riding better. So I was like, just now starting to feel like my old self again. So it's kind of another little kind of kick in the gut too, you know?
Well, it's got to give you some confidence too, that you can push through those things and get back to your old self and, you know, shake off the cobwebs, as it were.
Yeah.
Right.
So super unfortunate for you. I mean, we love being able to follow you and everything else. And, you know, we were just looking at the mileage and basically we're less than halfway through this thing at as far as special stage kilometers go. So from your perspective, I mean, I know obviously you're just out of the race and you haven't been analyzing it like this, but what do you see coming from the second week of this race? And like who's strong in the team, in the bivouac? Like, can you give us a little of kind of your perspective as far as what you're seeing around you and what you're expecting the guys to go through for the next week?
Yeah, the guys are juicing it out there. Like, I knew from the years past, like the first day or two, that the guys are pushing way harder than the rest of the week. And so when it went so poorly for me on day one, I was like, all right, I know these guys are just fired up, feeling fresh and like ready to pin it. So, and I know that pace that they were going and that intensity would not stay for the whole race. And it kind of diminished and died down a little bit, but dude, the guys are absolutely juicing it. Like, the risks that everyone else is taking is mind blowing. Like, to listen to Adrien about like how I saw his line. He had to have jumped over 60 feet off of a dune cut. He just like came up to it, knew that he wasn't going to break in time, and just held it wide open.
Oh my God.
Like, he could see it was more or less kind of flat on the other side or whatever, but he's just like, yeah, no, I can't hit the brakes. I'm not gonna be able to stop in time. So he just held it wide open and just hope for the best. Dude, and he jumped well over 60 feet and just ended up, you know, fine. And I'm like, dude, that's so gnarly. Like, that's so risky that you just freaking, oh, well, I can't stop, so I might as well just hold it wide open. So yeah, I mean, the guys are really pushing hard. And in this chrono stage too, like it was so much more heavy dunes and physically demanding than we thought it was going to be. Because that's kind of how the Dakar in the past has done it, is when you have a really long stage or something that's going to be super, super challenging, they'll give you break times. Like the chots or what they're calling a dry lake bed, a chot. They give you a lot more of those. So it's just faster pace, higher average speed, and more chances to rest. And I guess just for the first 50 kilometers that I rode, I was like, this is going to be way gnarlier than we ever thought it was going to be. And fuel consumption, as you know, it was a huge part in this one too, came into a massive factor because we all thought that we would be going fast across lake beds for most of it. And, Luciano, I saw one of the reports, Luciano came in, his hands were blistering, he had arm pump, and the guys were just beat down already. I'm like, dude, this is like, they weren't joking. Normally they were like, they say when it's going to be a challenging Dakar, they're like just playing it up for the media and stuff, but they were not joking with this one. It's definitely way harder than it was last year. Last year was hard because of the weather and it was cold and it was, gnarly and stuff. But we did not have this level of navigation last year, and just it's relentless, dude. Like the courses are just beating you down every day.
Yeah. And
so to look forward now, like into my perspective, Ricky's like, dude, he's riding like an animal. He's going really freaking fast, and he's doing a really good job at navigating as well. Like obviously a couple little, mistakes here and there, whatever, as everyone does, but dude, he's riding like an absolute beast. And Nacho's on a different level now. Like this new bike put him into a different area code. He's opening stages and leading out and being at the front of the pack, going twice as fast as he was last year. Like Nacho's on a different level. Pablo obviously was doing really well until he ran out of gas, which is super unfortunate. And then obviously Ross up in the front of the pack and like controlling a top 3 position for the whole first week is incredible, and like a massive improvement for the Hero. That bike looks like it's working really, really well also. So it's like, you have so many of these guys. Adrien now has worked his way up to 4th place, and he's within like super close striking distance now.
Yeah.
And you see how easy it was to lose 20 minutes on a day.
Yeah.
Last year it was like, oh, we're fighting for seconds. And now it's kind of back a little bit more to the like, oh, it's possible that someone can go out there and beat you by 10 or 15 minutes now. Yeah. So yeah, these seconds are really, really valuable, because if you throw it away, like the guys are juicing it so hard that you can lose some time.
Yeah. There seems to be a separation in the field. The top 3 are pretty secure in that 10, 12 minute window. And now we have this gap that's still almost 20, 30 minutes back.
Adrien moved himself into the mix now though.
Yep.
I mean, he's
so I guess his top 4 guys now are
really
up in that striking distance of an overall classification result. But like the KTM crew is stacked up right behind there, 20 to 35 minutes back. Do you see the KTM crew, it's all 4 of them are really stacked up right there, being able to make up that deficit they're in now, like based on your sort of analysis of the field and the course and the challenging of the Dakar?
I think the Chrono stage was kind of this was going to be the major make or break moment on whether or not you were going to gain or lose the time. Like Adrien gained the time.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he was minutes out, and now he's like right there in the hunt. Yep. Same with Toby. Toby did an incredible job. He was, back in 8th place, and now he just bumped himself up. Yeah, he's still some minutes out there, but like I said, like all it takes, specifically, I think it was on day 2. Yeah, day 2, there was this, the guys that were opening, we came into this weird canyon, and we came into it wrong. We came into it in the wrong position. And so we were supposed to go left, right, left through the canyon. And they thought that we entered it in already on the left side. So they turned hard right and went like, almost a kilometer, like close to 800 meters down, searching for the waypoint, came back, went all the way back. I mean, that alone right there is close to like a, 3 to 4 minute mistake alone. So you get someone like Toby or, like Adrien or anyone who's just in that like top 5 window, and they don't make that mistake, and the top 3 guys make the mistake, like that's alone right there puts them right in this mix. So going back up kind of towards the northern part of the country, Haile will be more more sandy, but kind of has these tricky canyons. It'll be a little bit less like that was a lot of our race last year was up in that high region.
Yeah.
And it can be tricky up there, but it's a little bit less. But once they get back towards Yanbu and Alula, dude, it gets like, I mean, Castera definitely did a really good job. We kept saying like, oh, if you want to slow us down, make the navigation harder.
Yeah.
He took our advice because once you start getting into the groove, he'll change it up.
Yeah.
And he'll change it up in not an obvious way too. Like, you know, one of the reasons why I made another big mistake was a note in the third box. You're supposed to just exit the track, go HP, and then find a mountain pass, like a little pass over the hill, and then join a river. And I mean, we're talking literally like a kilometer distance. And I sat there for like 4 minutes doing circles, like recalibrating, trying to figure out why I missed it. Because when you're pushing so hard, you have these tracks in front of you, you're pushing the tracks and you're kind of on the road book verifying, but you're not focusing so much. So all of a sudden when you come to an area and the tracks just scatter. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. Oh no. Why did they scatter?
Yeah.
Why am I wrong? Oh no. You know, so all it takes is the first 3 or 4 guys to do that, and to have Toby or Adrien or someone like that back there to be on their game and nail it. Cause that's why like Matthias won, you know, when Matthias won, that's exactly what happened. Those guys just kind of brain faded a little bit, took the canyon too early and ended up 20 kilometers down the wrong wash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and all it takes is one right move. So
it's something to look forward to for the second week.
Yeah,
too. You know, keep us on our toes, because you know we don't want it to get boring.
Man, it's not going to be boring.
I don't think it will. These guys are animals. They're doing a really good job. They're opening really well, and it's tough. This is definitely a super tough year. It's going to come down to this last week for sure.
Awesome.
Thanks, Skyler, so much for your insight and for giving us a call in while you're camped out there.
We appreciate you being so positive and always giving us the info, especially on a tough day for you.
Yeah. What's your plan now? You heading home soon, or when do you get out of there?
Yeah, I'm going to hang out for a rest day and pack my bags and all of that. And then I'll fly out at 2 a.m. I'll be home on Sunday already and get to work and, you know, trying to get back to my old self and spend the next year refining. So, you know, we can come back next year and do a good job. But yeah, I look at this whole scenario. Everything that's happened so far is like, you know, you look at any mistake that anyone's made, myself or anything else, being negative about anything is zero progress, right? Like I can be super angry, but I also made mistakes. made navigation mistakes. I've crashed. Like, you know, I'm in their exact same shoes, you know? So any type of negative thought is just time moving backwards. So all I'm looking at now is, I mean, I get the coolest opportunity in the world to race my dirt bike in different countries and be on the world stage. And it's the coolest thing ever. And all I can be is stoked about it. So yeah, all I'm doing now is going to continue to be stoked and rebuild and, you know, come back better next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Love the positivity and yeah, take care. Safe travels on your way home. And thank you again.
Yep. Thanks, Skyler.
Cool. All right. Thanks, dudes. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, that was cool. Thank you again, Skyler. I know we say thank you to you a lot when we're on those chats, but truly it does make a difference to give people insight, an awesome insight into your, you know, struggle mentally and physically out there. Cause it is as much a mental game as it is physical. And a lot of people don't realize that. They just think, oh yeah, these guys are just racing across the desert on a bike. How hard is that?
Yeah, and
it's
very,
really hard.
Very gracious of him too to give us his time after going out of the race. You know, a lot of guys just don't want to see anyone. They're like checked out, and because it's a big disappointment. So yeah, thank you, Skyler. That was rad, and that was nearly a show in itself.
We probably could cut that out for a show, but hey, we'll leave it in this because I think everybody's going to be wanting to hear from Skyler. So this is the best way to get it out there. Speaking of getting out there, tomorrow's rest day.
Yep.
They're going to be not resting, most of them. They generally have plenty to do on their bikes, their bodies. The top guys have media responsibilities, and VIPs come in from their sponsors and that kind of stuff. So we're going to get some insight into the pits from Anthony about some of the working class heroes, I think.
Yep, we're
Some
gonna
other
try to
people.
get some good info. We're no rest day for us. We're gonna be getting up doing
Yeah.
another show, and
No rest day for you.
Yeah,
And then heading straight into stage 7, which is not a minor stage. It's 483 kilometers of special
yeah.
and 390 kilometers of liaison. So again, these guys got to race basically 500 kilometers right after rest day.
Yeah, right back into it. I mean, you think of that. That's over 800 kilometer stage. Am I adding that up right? Yeah,
You are.
800 kilometers.
Your math is working.
After rest day. So any rest they
Delusions.
get on rest day is going to be erased pretty quickly.
Yep. And we are going to be watching with intent and anxious ambition, like what's going to happen next. The field's getting tighter. We're getting, more information from these guys every day. And geez, it's getting intense.
We're almost halfway through this thing.
Can't believe
Not
that.
quite, but
How you
almost.
say that, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
What are those guys feeling right now as they're sitting there thinking, man, it's more than a week away?
I mean, I think that to myself when I get out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to do this for a whole nother
To
week.
talk to Jesse.
Damn.
He's annoying. Too bad. That's what you signed up for. And that's what our sponsor signed up for. So they might be feeling the same way. We got to hear these guys again, but we're going to thank you again. Thanks, Climb. Thank you, everybody that supports us across the board. We love having you on board. What's your favorite sponsor if you have to pick one?
I'm going to say Husqvarna is probably
Of course you
my
are.
favorite sponsor today.
You're such a corporate shill today.
Yes. Well, I mean, we make the best motorcycles in the world, and what can I say?
What can you
I
say?
love motorcycles.
You do love motorcycles. I'll give you that. You ride them a lot.
I do.
Thank you, Husqvarna, for being our OEM sponsor today. That's very nice of you. Rally Navigator, Moto Minded, Giant Loop Moto, Fast Company, High Desert Adventures, JimmyLewisOffroad.com, Taco Moto, and Peak Design. Please go check them out. Shop around. Get your riding season started early. It's starting to rain in California. Go
Yes,
ride.
it is.
If you're stuck in the winter, just think about spring. Buy some parts, work on your bike in the garage, and make you feel better.
Sounds good.
That's my therapy.
I'm going to try to ride this weekend.
Goodness gracious. Good for you. Let's see if we can make that happen. All right, everybody, go out and ride if you're not glued to your TV watching Dakar coverage. Cheers. Thank you for listening.